What's up, guys? Coming at you with another Banshee video because I know everybody loves this Banshee. So if you watched in the last video, not the last video, one of my last videos, me and my buddy Shane did a drag race with a TRX 450R, completely stock. I think it was an '09, and he killed me. So that's just ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but I think I should have won that race. And we've discovered that the clutch was slipping really bad. So I went ahead and bought a new clutch. So here's everything right here. This is how it came packaged in one of these bubble packs. Nothing too crazy, but I think appropriate for what it is. Came with some installation instructions, and these are actually pretty good. I was just reading through this. They have how you should pre-soak the friction plates and everything for an hour before you do the install and everything. And there's just good stuff on there. I like it when companies do that. Just taking the extra step to throw something in like that. I like that. And there it is. You can see, $74.95, $6.30 shipping. Came to $81.25. Not bad, not bad. And here it is in the box. I mean, there's nothing too fantastic to show in here. Jesus Christ. Springs rolling around. But yeah, we have those, and discs as well. Just basic clutch. Supposedly these are from a YZF 1000, I think, sport bike. These friction plates, heavy duty springs, and of course the Driveline sticker. How can you live without the Driveline sticker? I have been sticker bombing the crap out of the back window of my truck. Why? I don't know. Basically trying to add some horsepower. The truck's just not fast enough. But I don't know, I just started putting these stickers on there. Most of them are red and black, so I'm probably going to throw this Driveline one on there too. So if you see these stickers on the back of the Silverado, you know it's me. So this should be a pretty straightforward go. I have the Banshee pulled in the center bay here. What I'm going to do first is drain the oil, and I will tilt up the quad slightly on one angle just so that we can save a little bit of mess, because when we take the side cover off, usually oil drips down the bottom and everything. So I'm just going to do the best I can to avoid that. So first thing I'm going to do, we'll just drain the oil. But before we get started, I'm going to take this here milk carton, cut the bottom off, and we're going to put our clutch discs in there and get them soaking in oil. Alright, so now we'll just take our plates, put them in like so, and soak them in some Earl. Yeah. Now don't worry about wasting this oil, because I wiped this out prior to cutting the jug, so I can actually dump this oil right back into the container when we're done. So we're going to let these plates soak for about an hour. It's just one of those standard clutch procedures that you're supposed to do. It lets the fabric of the clutch absorb all of the oil, and it's better to do that than to just throw them in dry. Also, I like to move these plates around once I have them submerged in the oil, and just separate each disc. Make sure that the oil is getting in between each disc, because if it's not, you might have surfaces that aren't actually, the oil is actually not getting to them. I like to spin them a little bit. Just make sure the oil is coating all the surfaces of every plate. Now the oil I'm using today is Rotella T 15 weight 40, and this is going to be extremely controversial, because when it comes to oils, You know, some guys are going to tell you one thing is awesome, and another guy's going to tell you that same exact thing sucks, and to try this. But Rotella T, I've done my research on it. If you do a Google search on it, you'll see there's tons of guys that have been swearing by this for years. It's supposed to work really good with wet clutches. So I've used this before. I used this in my CBR 1000. I've never had any issues or anything. So I'm going to be running that today. And the reason that we're soaking these plates ahead of time instead of just, you know, some of you are probably like, well, why don't we just fill up the oil in the crankcase after we install it, and you can pull the clutch a few times, you know, get the oil in there. You know, that can work, but these clutches are designed to work to get the best performance when they're wet. And this is supposed to be a better method to getting the clutch material to absorb all the oil, and you're supposed to get better performance. This is just the recommended way. It even says it right here on the installation instructions that come with Driveline. It is best to pre-soak the friction plates in the same oil, blah, 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 blah. But that's why we're doing that. That's the oil we're using. So we'll let this soak for about an hour, and while this is soaking, I'm going to change the oil in the Banshee. So our oil's drained, oil plug's back in there. Now unfortunately, we do have to drain the radiator fluid. As you can see, this one hose runs into the clutch cover. So in order to get the clutch cover off, we're also going to have to take off our foot peg. In my case, I have to take the Nerf bar off, and you're going to have to take your foot brake off too. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this Nerf bar, only because I don't want to get any antifreeze or anything on my any coolant on my my nets or all over my Nerf bars. So since I have to take these off anyway, I'm going to remove these before I unplug our hose right here and drain our radiator fluid. Unfortunately, there is no radiator drain on Banshees, so you just pull this hose off right here. So I'm going to pull the quad outside to do that, only because it's really messy. So let's get these Nerf bars off. Effort to make my life a little bit easier, and just so that all the fluids and everything kind of run into the case instead of you know, sitting in the clutch cover. That way, you know, when I take the cover off, the oil won't come spilling out. I put the quad up on a dirt bike stand and a 95-pound dumbbell. Basically, I guess you could use buckets if you really wanted. But this way, like I said, it's going to be a little bit easier to work on it this way, and also that fluid and stuff will be hopefully in the cases instead of in this clutch cover. And, you know, just trying to make the least amount of mess that I have to. So next I'm just going to take my water pump cover off so I can take these lines out, take my kicker off, and then I should be able to unbolt this thing and it should pop right off. Alright, so the cover's off. I had a little bit of a struggle with these lines right here. No big deal though. So we got our old clutch here. Got to pop off these springs, and I'll clean our old gasket material off. And I have a new gasket that's going to be going on. And we're just going to make sure our mating surfaces are clean and everything. But let's get this old clutch off. Alright, so I have my mating surfaces all cleaned up. I also cleaned off the cover as well. And I have all my new clutch discs and plates right here, my new springs and all. And we're just going to start putting these in. It's going to go friction plate first, and you're going to end with a friction plate as well. Now these discs, when you're putting them in, you'll notice, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick this up, but one side has a sharp edge and the other side's rounded. You want to make sure that all your discs have that same side matching. So if you put it with the rounded side up, you want to make sure all your discs have the rounded side up. If you put it down, make sure they're all down. It doesn't matter which way you put it, they just all have to be the same way. So I'm going to put mine all with the rounded edge facing out. Also, I'm going to throw a rag under here because I see these plates dripping oil. Pop our plate on. You want to make sure that this is sitting flush. If it's not sitting flush, you can spin it and it'll usually sit flush. What you're trying to do is make basically these arrows, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, line up with a circle. So want to make sure that it's sitting flat on there, because if it's in the wrong groove, it sits up a little bit, like or up out there. You want to make sure that it's all the way in, otherwise the clutch isn't going to work. Just lightly, just to get them going. I'm going to torque these down. The manual calls for 7.4 pounds. I'm going to do 8. Probably have to put a stopper in between the gears. Now is also a good time to adjust your clutch free play. Now basically for this, you just adjust your clutch lever so that the adjuster is all the way in, so that you can get the most slack and life out of your cable, because your cable is only going to stretch out. And then you come down here and you adjust your pancake bearing, you break loose your lock nut, and mine was tight because this clutch was thicker than the other one that I had it adjusted for. And you pull out your, you can see how this is nice and free now, this screw. So you put it in until you feel just a little bit of tension, and that's when you lock up your nut. And then just check your clutch and make sure that you have a good clutch lever and just a little bit of play at the top. And when you're done, there should be a little bit of play here. Alright, so our new clutch is on there. Our pancake bearing is adjusted, which is our clutch free play. and our mating surfaces are clean, so I'm just going to throw my clutch cover on and start putting these bolts back in. If you didn't hear before, I tightened these to 8 foot-pounds. The manual calls for 7.4. I just rounded up to 8, especially because my torque wrench doesn't have any decimals. It's either 7 or 8. And yeah, so let's get this cover on. This one long bolt goes back here. So the Banshee's done. I have the clutch in there, just put some oil and stuff in it. And so now I'm just gonna pull it outside, fire it up, and we'll see how it runs. I'm curious how the this clutch holds up. We'll see the difference. And yeah, so let me throw the helmet cam on. Alright, let's try this. Luckily, there's no break-in period for a clutch. Not a wet clutch anyway. It should break in as I ride it. So I'm just going to let this quad warm up a little bit. Oh shit. I can already tell it's got way more power than it used to. Like way more. When it was hitting that power band, it was just spinning. That's where all the power is. Yeah, this is way, way better. Alright guys, well, I think I got the Banshee back to normal. That's going to be all for today. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate y'all. And hopefully I'll get this video up by Thursday. And if that's the case, enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you in the next video.